she was buried, they would need to have some kind of equipment out there. That small pop-up tent is just so everyone can get out of the elements, right?
Well, the helicopter saw the body from the air.
They had an intact body.
Yeah, they saw an intact body lying on the ground. It didn't appear, from what the helicopter reporter was saying, that the body was buried. But maybe the body was buried. But that's a whole nother area of forensics that needs to be looked at. How was that body positioned? And how was that body out there? Did he fold the arms over her chest? Did there, or did he do something to humiliate her further in the positioning of the body? There's a whole, forensic profiling that occurs with this type of behavior. So, if he positioned them in an angelic form, that might be a sign of remorse for what he did, or if he did something far worse to embarrass her when she was found.
Right.
So, I would like to know those aspects of this as well. And only the photos will show you what that was. But I did notice that, excuse me, first they were photographing in that area of the tree, and then they went off to another area and they were photographing over there as well. So there was at least two portions of this field that they were working on.
Right. And it's going to come up in about 20 seconds, that part. So this is the tree right here in the middle of the screen, this tree, and then this more, the little bit more developed tree. There's a small tree to the right, and then this little more developed right where it says found right over there. And then they branch off to this side of the screen. I don't know if everybody could see my cursor, but they move up towards where the Sunday sign is, where it says Sunday, and they go off in this direction. So, maybe clothes blew off, or there was something that was laid there with her that, maybe wind took it and dragged it. You see them, they're all walking over there. There's 4 guys.
Yeah.
And there's some better footage where it actually shows them walking way up here into the corner. Again, we're dealing with the wilderness, and
Right.
we're dealing with wildlife.
Right.
Crime scenes that you and I are used to are in pretty much a controlled environment, minus the rain and elements and garbage that could be, flung into locations and stuff like that. But we're not really dealing with anything like this unless you're somewhere up in the northern Bronx, where it's the border of Westchester County.
And in the several times that I did have animals that impacted the crime scene, a lot of them were household pets, and the body just lied there dead inside an apartment or a residence, and nobody was taking care of these animals, and they took their toll on the decedent.
Joe Murray sends this into you, Ed. Detective Wallace, the prior DV incident on August 12th that Gabby struck/scratched Brian. Is the DNA under the nails datable?
No,
in any way, perhaps by nail growth?
No, it's typically not. You can't put a date on it per se as to when it got underneath the nails, and that's the thing. Again, we talked with Barbara before about under the nails. So at a crime scene like that, I would assist Barbara, and we would take paper bags and bag the hands in the field of the decedent and tape the bags to the wrist. And then at the medical examiner's office, they would do the scrapings under the nails. But again, see, that's another thing too here. As you know, Ron, back in the 80s and the 80s, we were able to mediate domestic disputes.
Right.
And then try to calm things down and try not to make an arrest and leave. But then terrible things would happen in many cases where there would be a secondary assault or a more serious assault or even a homicide after that. So we changed the law in New York that stated that the NYPD no longer had discretion when it came to domestic disputes. Somebody's getting arrested.
I wanted to ask you about the bags because I got a lot of questions about the paper bags.
Mm-hmm.
You say we use paper bags on the decedent's hands. What's the
Yeah.
purpose of a paper bag as opposed to a plastic bag?
The paper bag breathes, it allows air to exchange. So if there's a genetic material for DNA, you don't want to put that type of material in a sealed bag, a plastic bag that doesn't breathe, where moisture and heat can build up in there and then create fungus and mold and other items that could potentially damage the genetic material.
So it's to preserve the genetic material that's recovered or potentially in the on the subject.
On the subject, or in this case, under the nails and things of that nature.
Now, we saw FBI agents go into the Laundrie home in Northport with brown paper bags. Very familiar sight to both of us.
Yeah.
What could they be withdrawing with brown paper bags from the home?
Usually, again, we package any type of serological or DNA evidence in paper.
Could you explain to the audience what serological evidence is?
Well, your body fluids, so your blood, saliva, urine, vaginal fluids, seminal fluids, things of that nature.
Yeah, if somebody spit or anything like that, right?
Amylase, saliva, yes. Nasal discharge, yes.
But we did see them take computer evidence out of that home in said brown paper bags. Is there any purpose of computers going in brown bags, or it really wouldn't matter, right?
Well, actually, you shouldn't be putting hard drives or computer or electronics in any bags that can produce a static electrical charge, because the static electrical charge could damage the electronics, the hard drives, and things of that nature. So there are specially designed bags that are supposed to be used for electronics, cell phones, hard drives, computers, and things of that nature. And if they don't have those bags, then a good substitute for that would be paper or cardboard.
Red paint on trees, what would be the purpose for that?
Well, I wouldn't do that. And I don't know any protocols or standards in forensics that would have you mark a tree with red paint if it had ballistic evidence. We have markers, evidence markers that we would use. I would think that if a tree was marked in that way, it might be something done by the forest rangers or the forestry people.
Right.
Maybe there is some significance to the red marking on a tree in terms of hiking and trails. Or maybe there's some significance for it in the day-to-day care of the tree. I'm not sure what it is.
Right. I asked some of my good friends over at EquiSearch. I asked Twyla Cisco, who's the search coordinator on missing person cases, and she says that they do that when they are searching areas and let them know that they cleared a particular area. A lot of times they use like a ribbon or like a a little like flag, kind of sort of like a
right. Like on structures, we would paint a red X.
How difficult is it to determine time of death when exposed to those elements?
It can be difficult depending on the condition of the body. The bottom line is we don't know what the exact condition of the body is, okay? And how badly, if it was decomped, if it was mummified, if there was any, I don't think there would be any adiposia, which is grave wax, because she wasn't really in a moist environment. We don't know the impact of the indigenous wildlife and insects, so forth and so on. But all these things factor in, and it can be very difficult. Absolutely can be very difficult. And it's not an exact science. There's things that we can do. We know from studies, as I said, from the body farm, at what intervals certain insects arrive at a dead body, especially bodies that were laying on top of such a surface. In fact, that's what we do at the body farm. We position bodies that were donated to science in this 1 acre of land on the hill behind the University of Tennessee Hospital, and we bury some, we leave some out, we put, and we put some in drainage tunnels or drainage sewers, and we put some out in trees, and then we study them and capture when these insects come and what they do to the body, when these rodents come and animals come and what they do to the body and how they change the appearance of the body. how they start to destruct portions of the body and move body parts away from the original body and so forth. So
Right.
all of these things impact this. It's very difficult to say. Can you talk about the designation of homicide and why some homicides would not necessarily be a crime? And the medical legal definition for homicide is death at the hands of another. And in terms of why it wouldn't be a crime, certain homicides are justified, such as self-defense. So that wouldn't be a crime. It wouldn't be murder. It would be a justifiable homicide.
You know,
I
and
hope.
some people aren't aware of that, and
Yeah.
some people think that it's right away. Homicide's a homicide, but
Well, homicide doesn't mean murder. Okay, those are two different things. One is a medical legal definition. One is a legal definition.
it is important to be aware of your surroundings and be aware when something's not right. And because folks have seen something and said something, the YouTube channel Red, White, and Bethune, they were instrumental in the recovery of Gabby Petito. And I mean, they are, in my mind's heroes. And I know the wife and husband, they don't want credit like that, but they really did a fantastic job of seeing something and saying something. So